I wanted to see our guys compete and just see if they'd play tough and watch the one-on-one battles, which there were, a bunch of those going on in the interior and in the secondary, and just see who'd make a play. And I thought we did some really good things on both sides of the ball, and there's a lot of things we got to correct. But I was encouraged. Guys like Maurice Ballon, Hayden Reed, who's a freshman, Miles Stewart making some good runs, Tyre Tyler way through the ball. Cam Schur made a bunch of plays in the passing game, some great catches. It was good to see the defense get the ball out. Twice they knocked the ball out of somebody's hand, a contact fumble. It's certainly a negative for the offense, but a positive for the defense. A couple interceptions, and so there's good things all the way around. I was excited to see both kickers step in there and kick a longer field goal, 45 plus, and drill it with room to spare. That was encouraging, both Moretzky and Talley. So there's some good things. Our freshmen got a long way to go, and we'll break up scout teams next week and really start diving into Coastal, and that'll take some of the pressure off of them to be able to do everything off of a card. But I think there's some talented kids in that group. They got a ways to go.
And tell us a little bit about the offensive line. You had Jackson Filipowski at center today. I wasn't sure if Connor Bishop was available. How do you feel the offensive line is shaping up at this point?
We held Connor just precaution. He's played a lot of football, and we didn't think he needed to go in there and play 40 snaps in a scrimmage. So we had Filipowicz start the scrimmage at center, and then we rolled some other guys in there, and we had three groups. So we had three almost full groups of the offensive line that were playing in there today. And I think that group is really starting to produce some depth. And we probably have a decent idea at this point who the starters are going to be. There's probably a battle or two that we'll find out more over the next couple of weeks. But the depth is coming around there, and that's really good, because that may be the most difficult position to find a full two deep, where you got 10 guys that you really feel good about putting in the football game, and we're at least getting close to that.
And just talk a little bit about the quarterback play. Tyre, Cade Ballard, even Bryson Daly out there, Jamel Jones got a couple of touchdown passes, completions. How do you feel about how the quarterbacks are shaping up?
There's a really good battle going on there with TT and Cade Ballard, but I thought Jamel played really well today, and that's another senior, and I really feel like any one of those guys, the three of them, we would be very comfortable with in the football game and be able to play a football game with them. Bryson's improving. We probably thought he might be a little bit closer at this point, but he's just a sophomore, and he's going to come around. He's a physical guy. He throws the ball really well, and he's got a great future. He's just not up there with those three guys right now.
And just on defense, talk to Markel Broughton, your safety, your captain, about how he leads the defense. Bo Nicholas Ball had a couple of big plays today. How do you feel like the defense did today?
I like our secondary. I think those guys are doing a good job. There's experience back there. They play with confidence, and we're finding out now a lot about some of those guys that are replacing guys like Eric Smith and Nolan Cockrell and Cedric Cunningham, and we got some guys that are, I think, very capable of being good players. It just they got to cut their teeth and get a few more reps and just ready themselves over the next 3 weeks before we play Coastal Carolina. So we feel really good about where we're at on defense. And Nate does a great job coaching that unit. And I think we got a great staff, and I know they'll have them ready. But there's just some things we're going to have to continue to improve on, some more things to install for us to be ready. But I'm confident we will be.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Ken.
We'll go to Charles on Zoom.
Good afternoon, Coach. Charles Greaves here with GoBlackKnights.com.
Charles.
Going back to the offensive line, if you will, for a second. Yesterday, Connor actually talked about the depth of the O-line and felt that it was probably the deepest since he's been part of the program. Can you talk about the progression a little bit more, but more specifically, Booby Law, how he's coming along during training camp at left tackle?
I do think we're maybe as deep as we've been, at least with feeling like we got some guys that are going to be ready to play in the first game. I don't know that right now we'd be prepared to play every one of those guys against Coastal Carolina if we were playing today, but I think in 3 weeks we will be. And it is a group that's got good depth. I hope we can keep those guys healthy. Booby Law is doing a tremendous job. He's obviously had the injury. He's come back from the injury, seems to be moving really well. I don't see any lingering effects of that procedure, which is great. And he's got his body in good condition. He's just such an athletic guy for being as big as he is, and a real asset to us.
Fantastic. And on the defensive side, and looking at the secondary, obviously we know that Markel is the mainstay as safety, if you will, but obviously room for guys to kind of step in, challenging for the position that Cedric had last year. But I want to talk about the cornerbacks for a second. You have Moore, Jones, Morris, Nicholas Paul. However, there's a young guy, Donovan Platt, who I think is a real up-and-coming player. Can you talk a little bit about his progression over the training camp?
I agree. I think Donovan's had a really good camp, and I think he's going to have a good career here for us. He is a guy that physically I think is going to be capable of at least helping us on special teams, maybe some situational things. That's a good group, the corners that you mentioned. We got some guys that have played and maybe not as much on defense. Bo Nicholas Paul hadn't played a whole lot on defense, but has played a lot on special teams. And that gives him the confidence to go into a game and perform and play. So I think that group of veterans is a really good group of guys. And Donovan Platt has shown us some good things during preseason camp, and we're excited about him. I'm anxious to see how he progresses here before we play our first game.
And my final follow-up question, and speaking of first games, is really right around the corner. Are you satisfied with where you are as collectively as a team, as you're just maybe 3 weeks away from the season opener, or other things that you need to really work on and focus on as you kind of close out training camp?
We haven't even installed everything yet to this point. There's still some things that we've got to get in, and that's every phase: offense, defense, and special teams. So we'll continue to work through that. Hopefully by next week, when we scrimmage again, we'll have pretty much everything in terms of installation, and we'll really start to hone the game plan over those last 2 weeks to get ready for Coastal. I'm pleased with what we've done so far and how hard our guys are working and the progress that we made to this point. It's really, in the grand scheme of things, fairly early in preseason, and I think we're kind of well on our way. Having the summertime meetings and those kinds of things that the NCAA permits us to take part in now with our players, I think really moved us ahead, maybe ahead of where we've been in the past, and that was positive. So right now, I feel good where we're at for the short time that we've been in camp, and hopefully we'll just continue to feel like we're making improvements and taking steps forward to get ready for Coastal.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
All right.
We'll go to Tom.
Hey, Coach. Talk about what stood out about Eric Ford, that he was the guy that came in for the interview room today. He must have had a good scrimmage for you.
I'm not really sure why they requested Eric, but
yeah, okay.
He's a good guy to talk to. He was out there playing hard like a bunch of other guys, and frankly, those guys all in those rookie jerseys, they got their names on their back, but I wasn't paying attention to who's who. There were a couple of guys that stood out at certain times, but he probably had some tackles for loss, and It might have been his fault, but it might have been somebody else's fault on the other side, missing a block or blocking the wrong guy or whatever it may have been. But I'm excited about Eric. He's a long, athletic, rangy guy that I think is going to have a really good career. He's got a ways to go if he's going to be able to help us this year. But I don't think the pressure's on him to do that. We got some good players and the veterans, and we feel good about those guys. And if we can bring Eric along, and he may be a guy that starts out with a package or something like that, and maybe grows into something else. But it's way early for us to really be able to tell if he's going to be a guy for us or not.
Okay. Well, now we know that you designate authority. A lot of coaches make those decisions. The other question I have for you is I didn't realize that it was A-Day before the scrimmage. And I told Eric I'd be ready for a nap after all that emotion. And probably the same is true of players in Oklahoma and USC. Talk about the commitment of your freshmen, Eric, and your freshmen to go through that milestone moment in the morning and then come out and perform at a scrimmage.
I'm sure they were proud to be down there and just be a part of that ceremony with their classmates. They don't realize at this point what those classmates are going to mean to them for a lifetime. And that's what's special about West Point. And everybody is so many people that graduate from universities like myself. I don't necessarily identify with my class. It's not, hey, I'm the class of 1989. I'm so proud of the class of 89 and all these. Here's what the class of 89 has done. And here's what people in the class of 89, here's what they're doing. I'm just proud of Millikan University. That's where I graduated from. Here, I think everybody that graduates is incredibly proud of being a West Point grad, but they associate themselves with the class and they're tied to that class. And those guys probably don't realize that right now.
Yeah.
But this is just that first moment together, going through Beast Barracks and having the A-Day, Acceptance Day parade. It's just one of those moments for them that I know they'll be proud of for years to come. And I think today they probably just couldn't wait to get on that bus and get back up here and get on the field and play in the scrimmage. It's the first time for all of them to play in Mikey Stadium.
Okay, interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll go to Ken McMillan.
Hi, Jeff. What is your focus in the next full week?
To install all that we haven't yet installed offensively, defensively, and the special teams, so that we're armed with all of the things that we may need or intend to use in the first football game. And then to really improve on the fundamentals. Today we had some missed tackles. We got the ball knocked out 3 times on contact fumbles, one of which we recovered ourselves, but that's 3 too many. We can't have any of those. We had an opportunity at times on offense to block people and to pry open some holes a little bit better and didn't. That's positive for the defense. But on the other hand, the defense too, sometimes we didn't recognize our keys as quickly and as efficiently as we needed to, and gave the offense some plays. So there's just fundamental things that we've got to get better at. And those are things that got to be practiced. They have to be practiced every day, and they have to be practiced with precision, so that when the game is going on and intensity is high and it's not a practice pace, it's a full speed game pace, that those fundamentals will find their way into the game. And if we aren't fanatical about the fundamentals, then we get in the game, or we get tired, or there's a critical moment and the fundamentals go out the window and we don't perform as well as we could.
You said you're close to establishing starters. Do you think you'll hold back some of the veteran starters to keep them healthy and focus on the 2s and 3s?
Yes.
And because you think the veterans are sharp enough and they have a greater understanding, yes?
They've been studying this whether it's our defensive scheme, our offensive scheme, special teams, they've been studying it all summer. The meetings that we're permitted to have a couple hours a week where we can meet with the players, and that really put us ahead. And for a veteran player, a guy like Connor Bishop, a guy like Marquell Broughton, Tyler, T-Rob, there's other guys that Andre Carter, they played enough football. They don't need to take every single rep in practice and go to a Saturday scrimmage and play 50 snaps for them to be ready. We're going to practice those fundamentals and get them ready for the game, but be wise about how many plays we put them in an interaction so that we can keep them healthy.
Have there been any surprises as far as someone jumping into a 1 or 2 thus far that maybe we didn't expect?
I don't know if there's any surprises. Let me rattle my brain here and see if there's somebody that's just kind of come out of nowhere. I don't know. I think on the offensive line, I'm not sure who is probably going to be our right tackle. If it's going to be Shane Buckingham or Simon Dellinger, there's some guys battling and slugging it out. David Hayward is in the mix, and so there's some guys like that. But I don't know that's shocking. We've kind of seen those guys grow and develop and come along. So I don't know that there's right now anything that's a real surprise.
As far as the quarterbacks go, you keep mentioning the same veterans, which is a good thing. How do they separate themselves and make your decision as to who's going to be 1, 2, 3?
I guess probably just the guy that we feel like operates the offense and moves the ball the best. But we've played a lot of games here where there's a 1-2 punch, and sometimes we played a couple of quarterbacks, and maybe that's what it'll be. I don't know, but there's been times where we haven't. We've had seasons where it's been one guy, and we'll just see. We'll try to figure out what's going to work best for us. If it's one guy and he stands above the rest, then it'll be his. And if it's a couple of guys and we feel like we need to use them on a rotating basis, then we'll do that. And I think both are good plans as long as we can have success doing that.
That's it, everyone. Thank you.